Well, it's been a long time since we've done one of these because alpha is crazy and we have to put everything out and test it and all of that. But sometimes we take a break. And what we're talking about today, Flame?
Well, if we're gonna take a break, we might as well talk about the release date or the leak of the release date, or is the thing ready, man? Is the expansion gonna come out? Because actually, there's no alpha today, but we did have a leak yesterday on Reddit, and that's what we're gonna be talking about because obviously leaks are, a controversial topic. But this leak, I feel like, from what I've understood, it came from the same person that announced that Dragonflight is going to be released this year. And
credible source, I would say. But before we get into it, we like to make a special shout out to our podcast, the Mocast Podcast. Listen, you have a link in the description. It's a different channel where we do podcasts on World of Warcraft. Spec related, game related, all types of debates and discussions and dissection of classes and specs and the game and all of that. It's a really cool listen, and we kind of like have episodes over there posted every 1 to 2 weeks. Really interesting stuff. It's basically things that we talk about much more when on Marcelian&Flame we don't really have the time or the necessary vibes to get into it, right? So on a podcast channel regarding World of Warcraft, you can check it out. That's Mocast. It's in the description after you watch the video, of course.
Clearly.
Now let's get into it, man. Let's get into it.
Dude,
we have the leak. We have the leak, and yes, as Flame mentioned earlier, it is a pretty I wouldn't say credible source, but he has been right in the past. And it kind of matches up with the things that are already announced regarding Wrath of the Lich King and all of that. And it starts to make you wonder. They did say that they're going to release it this year, so there was no debate on that. I was hoping not to, but hey,
that kind of hope goes into, well, if they're going to release it this year, make it as late as possible to have as much time to iterate on all the issues.
Also involves a lot of issues within itself.
Well, it turns out that it's gonna be, compared.
What's the date?
What's the date? Judging by the leak, is November the 28th,
Global.
which.
And it's on a Monday.
Yes, it might as well just be 29th or whatever. But even that, if they're gonna release it, it would make sense to release it during that time, considering that holidays are starting soon. So people usually, they did this before, where initially they said that they don't want people to raid during the holidays, but if they're going to have the raid crossover with the holidays, at least started like a week or two before, and that's probably when it's going to start. If we're gonna have like about 2 weeks pre-season, like we normally do.
Dude, I remember we were having this chat 2 years ago in regards to the launch of Shadowlands, which was delayed from October to November the 23rd, and we had the same exact discussion in regards to the Race the World First and the raids being basically opening up during the holiday season, and a lot of people got up in arms about that. I remember even with our guild, we took a break from it because there was the holiday season and stuff. I don't know if they want to do the same thing again. This is kind of like this is the thing, right? Out of the whole issues that this launch date could possibly have, everybody's up in arms about what about the Race to World First, man? What about the progression and stuff?
I mean I don't know. Obviously, they cannot delay it. It will have to come like a week or two into 2 weeks at the most. into the dude. I mean, you make people wait 9-2 for like almost half a year or more, and then you say, okay, the expansion is launching, and after that, you still have to wait more week. Like, I doubt the raid is going to be released in January. Let's say after the holidays, so it's likely going to be there. But this is like one of the potential issues with the release being in the.
I like to add on that. The difference is here that, first of all, you saw a little bit of the content from Dragonflight. Okay, very different vibe, a very different installment as we were testing out Shadowlands in the alpha and beta. Okay. Now, I would say that there's a strong possibility that they will actually move the raid and open up the new season of Dragonflight after the holidays, because people will have a lot more content to chew in. Now, if you remember at the start of Shadowlands, we had the Covenant stories that would get it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And that kept on, people on in the same line in terms of like, okay, you still have to do this on a weekly basis. You were expecting new shit, and it gave them the time to like launch the raid. Granted, still in the holiday season. Only this time around, you have the dragon riding, which I feel this type of content that they're trying to deliver, because it's not only about just riding your dragon around the Dragon Isles or whatever. There's a lot more to it there. They mentioned that there's a lot of story elements to it, the customization thing, and the challenges, and I think they want to develop some sort of engaging, things to do in regards to dragon riding. And that's the main difference when you compare it to Shadowlands and even BFA. Legion had you going for artifacts and all of that. That was a different vibe. But this is the thing, right? You can gate the story, first of all, like how you did in Shadowlands in the beginning, and then you have all of this dragon riding things to do. I think that could be a solution for the angry mob who doesn't want the raid to happen during the holiday season. This is my 2 cents in it. I think they could release it. They have enough meat on Dragonflight for them to release
the bones.
It. Yeah.
Well, to go with your argument, I mean, they could definitely develop on the fact that, the talents are going to be a total revamp. So you could say that, people are rediscovering their specs. So they could take the extra time to actually learn the specs. And, the professions are getting an overhaul as well. And so there's a lot of like core systems of the game that are changing, that are different. Let's say you are keeping up to date with everything that's happening in Alpha right now by watching our videos and other videos from other content creators. Of course, by watching our videos.
How
clearly,
else?
I mean, I'm just.
There's no other way. There's no other way.
But
there's a lot. There's a lot for people to chew in, and you also have to remember a lot of the current player base is not that OG. A lot of the folks that even doing the podcast and talking to a lot of these tier crafters, a lot of these guys and gals started in Legion, in BFA or in WoD, and they never knew how these talents work. They never got to see how that works, and it's gonna feel very, very different from what they were used to.
And there's a lot of even people. That's also a point. But even to that, like they're not the new talents are not working like the old ones are, because you're basically learning your spec as you're putting points into your talent, where you're actually getting spells that you would normally get baseline by actually talenting into them. So this is, another controversial topic where people are a little bit up in arms about, well, why do I have to choose something that I always had so far? Well, this is the new system. It's how they're working. They're basically converting your talent tree into your spell book, into your class trainer, depending on when you started to play WoW. So that's basically how it is. And learning all of this, they could argue that it might take some time. We'll probably need some sort of like end game content, something like, I don't know, maybe Mythic Zeros or
Dragon
stuff
Riding.
like that.
I'm telling you, man, I think they're gonna put a lot of money onto Dragon Riding, and we
or
haven't
on Dragon
seen
Racing.
Yeah, well, that's included in it, right? Because it's part of like the whole deal. There's gonna be quests and stuff you can unlock on that front. But also, what's really interesting is like, if this is true, we're gonna have the pre-patch launching on the 25th of October. And I do wonder what a pre-patch for Dragonflight could be. I can just go on and say the pre-patch is Shadowlands never happened. Move along, it's fine.
Oh my god,
everybody
dude.
clap.
That's like the best. Is like we're waking up from a dream. It's like,
that was a bad.
I just had some bad Bill tongue last night, and I dreamt the soul Shadowlands shit. But where's Sylvanas? She's the jailer. Oh, okay, that's fine. We were fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people. Even though, again, concerns are being raised in terms of like, and this was even before this leak got out. Then when they announced that they're gonna launch the expansion this year, it was the biggest fear, just judging by a lot of the classes and specs with their talents being shit. I mean, Feral Druids, Red Paladins, a couple of the Hunter specs, what else? Paladins, the Holy Paladin, the Priest.
The Hunters are still going through week to week changes. Now, I was about to ask you, like, what do you think in terms of the way that they're adding the content, the cadence of their fixes and feedback out? They're very responsive, like to the feedback that we give out, to all the issues that are posted online, either on the forums or in the community council or so on. So the devs are very responsive to that. We still have, yes, that's exactly it, because we still have, let's take take Rogue, for instance, with the same bugs that we've had about 3 weeks ago. Shadow Priest and Priest in general hasn't been touched since before even the alpha has been released. So there are these little things that are on everybody's mind. And sure, this is probably the counter argument to having it released this year. Maybe they're obviously ahead in what they're testing right there internally and what we have access to right now. And you did bring up Shadowlands, and an interesting point of comparison is, I don't remember exactly the dates, but I believe the alpha and Shadowlands started around April. Yeah, so it was like months before, and still things weren't done in time. They're working faster now, and obviously they have a lot more.
Well, there's a lot more people in there for sure, and it's a different approach. Yes, it's a good point to mention that they are much more active, the Discords, content creators and all of that, especially when it comes to like the classes and the specs and how they're gonna, build up this new old talent system, let's say. But the biggest concern still remains, as Flame mentioned, a lot of the devs are actively fixing and taking in feedback, and you can see that reflected in the weekly builds on alpha, but some of them aren't. And I don't know if it's a question of folks being on vacation and not being delegated to do something else or whatever, but you can clearly see that some specs are getting ready much more faster than others. And I really feel they cannot fuck this up. They cannot have that one spec that cannot fly.
We're gonna touch on this like patch later. No, see, this is interesting because this whole thing paints a picture. Because we had this talk, when was it, a month or two ago, when the release was announced, and we were like, well, maybe they don't have time, so let's let them prove to ourselves that we have time. So, but we're still in the same position. Like, I would have hoped a month ago when we had the initial talk about is it going to be ready in time, that by now we would have had some like clear indication that, oh, okay, they're definitely working faster. But there's still a couple of things that are not clearing this doubt, this worry up. There's like, okay, sure, they're working faster, but on other ends, they're like not progressing at all. Yeah. And then I mean, I keep remembering this, and this is probably because it's a little bit biased, but I keep remembering Short Arm of the Law.
Short Arm of the Law.
They're making like
I can make a video like for 2 hours regarding the Red Paladin talents and how they fucked it up and the direction they're going with being bad. But it's not a Red Paladin video.
No, it's about
Yeah, I know.
It's about the fact that they did like opposite to what the community wanted. So like, okay, if you still have that mentality, when are you going to like readjust it, or when is it going to be fixed? Are we going to not have the example of Long Arm of the Law, and we're going to the opposite direction, where is the consecration based on consecration?
Yeah, I mean,
so
there's potential in every spec, and I think people got the wrong idea that the specs will get revamped. No, some of them, yes, do receive some cool new things or whatever, but this is not necessarily a totally from Legion style. Okay, it's not a revamp in that sense. But they're kind of like reshaping a lot of these specs in order to make the new talent system work, which is totally fine. You gave the example of the Red Paladin stuff. I can give the example of the Feral Druid as well, which the Feral community is very, very concerned on how they're looking, and there's like been silence over there for a long ass time. So the concerns are legit, and we're talking now 17th of August, right? If the launch is indeed as per the leak on November the 28th, then what are we looking at here? 3 months of testing? Not even 2, because we have pre-patch on October, so we're looking at two and a bit months of testing and getting shit sorted out and getting the feedback and squashing the bugs and stuff. I feel it's a little bit alarming, especially if they want to release a raid and a new season at the same time.
Yeah, because
that's the biggest thing.
Like right now, we're missing 2 classes, Demon Hunter and Monk, and we're missing, I think, 3 dungeons.
Yeah, not all dungeons out there. We don't know. We have no raid testing yet, and that's usually in the beta, but still.
I know that you speculated that this week we're gonna potentially have beta based on like normal time frames of cadence, or the way that they're doing
either
content.
Either this week or next week.
And it's not this week, clearly, because I mean, normally they announce, I think they announce beta like a couple of days before the reset.
It's a little bit of fanfare. It's a little bit of fanfare out the beta. betas officially.
Overall, by now we were hoping that we would. Oh, okay, yeah, it's gonna be done in time, or it's looking like it's gonna be done in time. But there's a little bit too many unanswered questions that don't really give us this comfort, this relaxation. Like, oh, all right, or 28th of November, I can definitely see it happening. We still don't see it happening, so hopefully they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, taking it with a grain of salt. It's not official, it's not confirmed. We're just like speculating here. Even if we're looking at a credible source and the other dates seem to match up with what we know from previous dates and whatnot, it's still a Reddit leak, so we are not like 100% putting all our money on this.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they did say they're going to launch it this year, it could mean that that would be a plausible date in terms of like, quarters and, holiday season sales and stuff and offers and all of that. So it would make sense from a financial/commercial point of view. They want to be present in that holiday season to have a great sale on it. I mean, that's how it works. WoW kind of always launched in a sort of like autumny/wintry season because that's when a lot of people start buying games, and it's kind of like a known factor. Nothing here. That being said, it's still from Reddit. We have to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The issues are very legit regardless of when the launch date hits. It's just a matter of, are they capable of actually delivering an experience that feels complete for at least 3 months. I want to add to this that Ian said they want to have a lot more updates for mini patches, like 0.5 patches or 0.7 patches in Dragonflight to address a lot of the stuff. Maybe that's a factor they're taking in, right? But they cannot, for the love of God, release Dragonflight with people saying, oh, okay, well, my spec or my class will get fixed next patch, or we'll have some hot fixes. There's also going to be hot fixes. That's a given.
Yeah,
the game has to be like 98% in order for it to succeed, because
they're walking a very thin line right now with people's perception and people's love, because whether you like it or not, people are attached to the game one way or another. They're emotionally involved. It means something to a lot of the people. So going through what we've been going through the last year or so has been a little bit weird as WoW fans, right? So they cannot really fuck it up anymore, right? That they have to really do this carefully. They have to really think it through.
Yeah, there's less people now having trust and faith in them. This is the thing. They kind of exploited the people's passion and faith and allegiance, and a big majority is not down with that anymore. This is why I'm saying it cannot release in a state where people will have the slightest chance to say, oh man, my spec got fucked. Oh man, this content isn't ready, or something like that. No, it has to be, as they say, like 98% super clean and nice, at least for the first 3 months after the launch, regardless of what type of content they put in there, season or not. Whatever is in there, it has to work smoothly, because BFA fucked things up. Shadowlands like completely destroyed a lot of the like customer trust. It's basically that.
Yeah, that's important.
This is the thing, man. It has to be 100. But that being said, it is, I would say, a positive thing that at least even us as content creators can feel and see how involved a lot of the team is in trying to making it work. So it's not an issue anymore where they're saying, oh, we know better, you're just players, you don't know shit. No, there's definitely, I think we've been saying this for the longest time, but it's been since 9.2, I would say. I would go even further, even 9.1.5. Since that patch, we have clearly seen a growth in their willingness to listen, to implement, to iterate, and if not that, at least discuss and hear out. And that has been growing and growing, and seeing on what types of stuff is happening on the alpha builds, it's still a positive twist on, I would say, the last 6 or more years of World of Warcraft, which gives us confidence.
It's basically the counterbalance to all the worries that we have, and even after all these months and patches, it's still surprising to see how open they are and how willing they are to actually change things the way, let's say, in a more subjective way, players want them to be, right? Players want to have fun in a certain way, and the devs are definitely looking to be more keen into making the game in that direction. So that brings a little bit of hope, because it's still different. Whatever worry we have that it might not be done in time or whatever, it's kind of a little bit dispelled by, okay, well, they're doing things the way we like it now, so...
Things are happening way different than in the past. But that being said, we want to, first of all, thank our patrons for supporting the content that we do. See, we do other stuff as well, you know, but when Alpha is out, you know we're going to pump out everything that we can, because we love testing and seeing it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you, patrons, for supporting the content, you know, stuff like this, the Alpha videos, the class guides, you know, the TLFs, Tier List Fridays. That's all
really helps out.
The podcast, which once again, if you don't know about the podcast, check the link in the description. You can listen to it on Spotify and iTunes, or watch the whole video on YouTube with cameras and all of that. It's really great. And last but not least, thank you,
dear viewer, for watching and being a part of this lovely experience. And we will see you
sometime
in the future.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.